And welcome to another episode of ND Social. This is the podcast where I, Dylan Yeager,
And Michael Huntington.
interview independent filmmakers. That's right, the true indies, the real artists, not you, Hollywood. Our guests come to the show to share with you, the audience, how they started in their filmmaking career, and maybe, just maybe, we'll learn a little bit more about them on a deeper and more personal level. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this very special episode of ND Social. Our guest today is an award-winning director and the co-founder of Media Adventures. He is a director, producer, editor, and writer. He is best known for his short film he directed, produced, and wrote, Morris, which is based on a true story about the long-term effects of sexual abuse. Morris has touched the hearts of many, and because of this, has helped victims and witnesses of sexual abuse become the heroes of their stories. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show my dear friend, Michael Helgens.
Welcome to the show, Michael.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Michael. So we've known each other for quite some time.
Wait, have we? How long has it been really? Like 5 years?
Something like that.
It's been 5 years?
I believe it was 2016.
When did Morris come out?
Okay, less than 5 years. 2016 does not math to 5 years. For this 2019, that makes it 3 years.
3 years, but it
3
feels
years.
like five,
like
but
five.
that's okay because...
That's good or bad for one of us.
So yeah, we met at the 2016 Snake Alley Film Festival. You submitted the screenplay for Morris, and I was asked to perform as adult Morris. So yeah, tell us a little bit about how you came about writing that and submitting to Snake Alley.
Sure. So I wrote Morris as a piece to sort of heal my brain. So I was getting all of the thoughts out of my head. And then I thought, well, I ought to share it with a few people so that they understand why I'm slightly mad. So I did share it with my business partners, the Brewbakers, who I hear are coming to visit you soon.
Yes.
And they suggested that I should submit it to some film festivals. The only one available at that particular moment that had come through recently was the Snake Alley Festival. So I submitted it without reading all the rules, which is a bad plan, because the next thing that you know, your film script is accepted, and they're telling you that, by the way, we're going to read it on stage in front of as many people as we can get in the room. I'm like, no.
Too personal, too personal.
That's not what I was hoping for. And they're like, oh, we think it might be hard to get people to do it. I'm like, yes, I believe it would. You should not do this. They persisted, and they found a whole slew of marvelous actors who brought the story to life. And many of those folks appear in the film, compliments of the Snake Alleys, bringing everyone together. And really, that is Jojo Monkey's doing. So
Shout out, JoJo.
shout out Jojo.
Jojo!
I know she likes it, and she gets shout outs on your show. So
Yeah, definitely.
it was important that I work her into the story somehow.
She'll be on here hopefully sometime soon. She's got to hop on here.
I'll be reaching out to her soon for our next round of interviews.
So real quick, I know you guys met through Morris, right? You came and did the table read. How did you get there? How did you get to SNAF? You weren't in a film at
I was
SNAF, were you?
not, no, and I kind of shared this story on
Okay,
episode 1, but yeah, I was fairly well-known community theater actor, and I met some people through that, and yeah, I met JoJo at the Freak Show, and I was doing a Sweeney Todd skit, and she, so yeah, we became friends on Facebook and stuff, and you know, a few months maybe went by, and then she contacted me saying, hey, I know you are wanting to really get into acting, and I told you maybe one day I can get you into film. So there's this film festival, Snake Alley, in Burlington, Iowa, and I have this script here. I'm going to send it to you. Let me know if you want to be the lead in it. And I read the script, and I was totally in love with it. I could tell. I didn't know it was a true story right away, but I could tell it was something very important, and the person who wrote this was going through a lot personally. And at that moment, too, in my acting career, is you know, I don't want to be just known as the community theater actor. I want to get into film. So this can also be a way, too, that maybe I'll get noticed at the film festival and show everybody that I am an actor that's not afraid to, you know.
Do it. Commit.
Yeah, I will commit to
Do
this.
it all.
And yeah, that's how. Yeah, and then you want to pick up
I watched him do it all the time, going, please don't act out the things that I've written. Please don't do it. But he did all of them. And I just sunk lower and lower into the chair as maybe 2 or 3 people in the room watched it. But something magical happened afterwards, and that was people came up and said, wow, thanks for sharing your story. Here's what happened to me. And it's important that you share this story too. And I immediately said to Dylan, you have to be the guy in the film. There's no one else who could do what you did in front of people on stage who could not translate that into the perfect performance on film. And you absolutely delivered.
And I want to thank you so much because Mr. Helgens, we have 2 Michaels in the room. You changed my life. You really did. And when you asked me to be in your movie, I called my mom and dad and I was in tears. I was like, I made it. I'm a movie actor. I'm a movie actor. Somebody loved me. And they were super happy for me. I posted like crazy on social media that I made it. No, and just, I haven't stopped since then. I've been in a lot of work, and if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be this close to achieving my dreams. So I want to say thank you.
I think you give me too much credit. You are a predominant actor. We're done complimenting each other.
No more compliments for the rest of the episode. It's too much love going on here. So how long did you have Morris written out, like before you started like sending it to people? And
so I wrote it and 3 days later submitted it to Snake Alley about 10 days after that because it was their final deadline. They were like, yeah, we're doing this. And I was terrified, but we went anyway because the Breakers, my wonderful, lovely business partners, insisted that we go and watch it happen, which was great because otherwise we wouldn't have met Dylan. I'm told Dylan was terrified because I was there. I was terrified because all of them were there. So
did you know the director?
I had
was
no
there?
idea.
Oh,
Right before we walked on stage to do it, JoJo was like, "Hey, this might be your big chance. The writer's here." And I'm like, "What?"
Yeah, oh no.
And I felt super prepared until I heard that, and I'm like, I'm not ready. I can't do this. Like, what if I make a fool out of myself? But yeah, we were equally terrified of each other, I think.
It's true. In that moment, we were both horrified. But what happened next was a year basically had to pass while we brought everything together. And then we finally shot the film over a couple of weekends. The hardest part of filming a film like that is finding a young actor to be
as vulnerable
vulnerable as they need to be, and to understand at the same time that what they're doing is helping people and not, traumatize them in the process and have their parents say, yeah, sure, you can take my 14-year-old and put them in these graphic sort of situations.
And since SNAF, do you know how many festivals it's been in?
Oh,
a lot, right?
A lot.
Yeah.
It has been a lot. It's been around the world. It's won a few awards, some humanitarian filmmaker awards. I say that lightly, like it's not causing my heart to pump now, but really it is. It's sort of insane how much it's done for people, and that's a testament to people being willing to listen to the stark issue, see that it is worse than you think it is, and then talk about it.
Yeah, and then the first time I even heard of Morris is when Dylan auditioned for No Reply, and he sent me all the links to the stuff. And Morris, I saw you guys were on TV. That was pretty cool.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
I remember seeing Dylan, and this was before I ever worked with him or even talked to him over the phone or anything like that. And he was so nervous, man. I was like, how's this guy going to be a serial killer? He's so nervous.
But yeah, when you contacted me and you're like, hey, how do you feel about being on the news? And I'm like, yeah, that sounds cool. What for? And you're like, oh, we're promoting Morris for the its first big release. Can you do this tomorrow? Come meet me at my place at 4 a.m. I'm like, oh, this sounds crazy. But I luckily was free the next day. And I just remember you and I, we were really cool about it. And we were walking on the stage, and I just remember the look on your face, and we're like, crap.
Terror.
This because it was like the big deal. Like you watch, these newscast shows and stuff, but when you're actually on stage and see these huge cameras, and then the guy in this background is like, we're on in 10 seconds, and then
was
the
it
bells
live
ringing.
as well?
It was live.
Oh, it was live.
We could have said literally anything and ruined the world. No.
Wow.
I think what helped was the lady who gives nutrition advice, who'd been there 1,000 times, pep talking us beforehand.
You guys got this. You can do it.
And when we got done with our interview on TV, as soon as you and I walked out of the building, we just looked at each other and just started busting up laughing. Like, what just happened? But it was a great feeling, and that was one of the moments in my acting career where I felt like, hey, I'm doing some pretty big things.
So
Did you feel the same way? Like,
Right. I mean, when the news calls, no.
when the news,
And you get, after you're on the news, you get about 18 minutes of celebrity from the people who watch the news at 6 a.m. when you go to work. They're like, I saw you on the news today. And then that's over. That's your 18 seconds.
So on Morris, you guys talk about a lot of positive feedback. Have you ever had any negative feedback? Has anything that ever came your way? Has everyone normally been pretty...
Yeah, I think everyone sees the value in the film. Some festivals can't or won't show it to their audiences just because of it's quite graphic. We wanted it to feel really real and visceral and really show people what it's like,
doing, yeah.
Right, to people who are victims of the event, of sexual abuse.
Yes.
The event.
So I know Morris is a short film, and it kind of leads off to where it could become a feature. Are you in works of that? Do you plan to turn Morris into a feature?
First, we're writing a sort of book that I'm just about through, but I keep rehashing bits of it because I need it to be very, very good. And then we'll take that and turn it into the feature script, and we'll find someone to help us make that. Just because more people need to see it, and that's the only way to really be able to do that and then be able to speak to people. So I had a lot of success.
Now it's available through video on demand, right? It's available to watch. So if you haven't seen Morris, definitely check it out. It's a great film. It has a really good meaning behind it.
You have links somewhere on your website too.
Absolutely, yeah. On Spotify, on everything. Yeah, we'll make sure.
Links
for
everyone.
And something I always said about Morris was, yeah, definitely. There's going to be a lot of people who won't watch it or watch it and don't like it for how intense it is. But I think we both mutually can agree that this movie is made for, a very certain audience. It's made for the people who need to watch it. And that's all we really care about. At least for me personally, is like if somebody comes up to me and says, "Oh, I didn't like it," and I haven't had that, but I have had people like say, "Oh, I can't watch that. I won't watch that," and that's fine because it's not for you. I mean, we didn't make this for you to enjoy. This is like to help people, and that's honestly kind of what keeps me going. And I really feel like you're a book author. You've written some books that we can go into, and I think when Morris comes out, the book, there's going to be a lot of positive feedback because you already have like a strong following of people who like to read your work, and once that feature film comes out and we can contact the right people, it's going to reach a bigger audience, which is going to be terrifying, but it's going to be
terrifying and great. I've seen it probably hundreds of times, but still watching it with a fresh audience every time is like a curl up into a ball and maybe want to die moment every single time. And that's how it always will be for me, and probably for people who have experienced similar things when they watch it, it's probably very uncomfortable. But the people who haven't had that experience, who see it, realize that it's not something that's as light as they might have given it in their brain before. None of those words made sense.
So you're the co-founder of Media Adventures. I've heard stories on how you guys connected, but can you share with the audience how this magical company started?
It's ridiculous, really. So once upon a time, I responded to a Craigslist ad for voice actors to take part in a Sherlock Holmes podcast. And I was cast as essentially Sherlock Holmes, but he's the grandchildren of Holmes and Watson, so it's Spencer Holmes. But they're basically Holmes and Watson, but younger and modern. The Watson Files. So Greg Kilberg and I did this for a long time, and Scott Strossel put it all together. And we did a bunch of things together. Scott decided to start getting involved in film. And I hadn't really dabbled in it, but I heard over my shoulder one day at work while I was collecting bills, because that was my job back then. If I ever called you, I'm sorry. Hopefully I've never called any of you, and you're wonderful people. I heard over my shoulder someone saying, I need a film editor for this film that we've been putting together for ages. And it turned out to be Debbie Brubaker looking for an editor to finish their first film, which was a feature film, like an hour and 42 minutes of stuff that they put together on their first outing, like crazy people. I love them, God bless them. But who makes an hour and 42-minute film their first time out? No one.
That'd be
with an
insane. That'd be a lot of work.
Right, madness. So they lost their editor and they needed a new one. And I happened to know a guy. So I was like, I know a guy who could probably help you. And I put them in touch. He finished their film for them. And then the Brewbakers were ready to be done making films because they'd had a horrible experience. So I said, let's write some short stories and see if we can make some decent films from there. And that's how we started sort of writing and became pals. And 5 or 6 years ago now, we've been making films, 48-hour films and various things, all visible on our website, which I'm sure is also linked below.
Absolutely, yeah.
Look at you linking stuff.
Yeah.
Again, links.
Get me to work, man. You're getting me to work. But Media Adventures is a video production company, right? You guys just don't do short films. Do you guys also do commercial-based stuff? And
Yeah, lots of commercial things. So we're working on getting together some stuff to do, like real estate drone footage and a few weddings, but mostly really photography. And then as much as we can, just putting the short films out there and turning those into a way to be able to do what we love, which is to tell stories, whether they're our own or other people's.
Has there ever been a film that you've been hesitant to like finish, or that you lost inspiration to like carry on through, or like did you ever like not want to finish a film in the editing process and you're like, this isn't the way I wanted it to be, I'm not even going to release it? Has that ever happened to you as a filmmaker?
I don't think we've ever put anything on film that we haven't released. We did start sort of a web series once that was about superheroes, but it was right sort of in the beginning of time before the superhero soup came into the theaters. Right. And so we sort of let that go because there was just, it was
too much.
Overhyped. It was overdone. And we couldn't possibly hope to compete with the CGI of Marvel and DC. Though obviously, not obviously, but in my opinion, Marvel does it better. Right?
I think so.
It's the director of the DC films that causes a problem. Old Zach doesn't know how to tell a story in any kind of speedy time frame.
Aquaman was good. Aquaman is like the only DC film I think that I've enjoyed.
Did Zack Snyder direct that?
No.
There you go.
Yeah. So you've also acted in stuff, right? Like you're not just a director, you've also acted in stuff. What is some of the projects that you've acted in?
Basically, anyone can ask me to do anything, and I will try to say yes if I can. As far as acting goes, I acted a little bit in our superhero thing as the necrophiliac physician. Not a fun role. I had to chew on bubbles at one point. Not delightful. Bubbles, not a person, but actual. No. Anyway, didn't like that so much. Most recently, in Michael Bergen's film, The Eidolon Inquest, which is coming soon to a film festival near you. Right?
Yeah.
Ghosts, as controlled by evil corporations. Me being in charge of, in this case, the evil corporation. I'm typecast. I'm the villain. It's how it is. It's okay.
Yeah, I feel ya. I keep getting typecast as the bad guys, which is fine. I have fun doing it. But I want to do, new, different things. And I get the opportunity sometimes, but...
It might be nice to be the good guy occasionally.
Right? It's the tattoos. My school teachers always told me that this was going to bite you in the ass one day. All those tattoos, and it kind of has been. It's like, you look like the spooky dude. You're going to play the spooky guy.
And while we're plugging things, this weekend opens Nevermore in Cedar Rapids Town at Lindell Mall. I'll be there in person. So if you...
Are you going to be an actor?
I will be a scientist who summons Cthulhu to murder the guests. No big deal.
So, how young were you when you knew that like filmmaking was a thing for you? Like, do you have a special moment that you still remember in your life where like you knew you were gonna like be right or?
Yeah. So I knew that I was going to be a writer from about third grade. And that happened in this building, in the library at Cornell, where they had college for kids, and you came and you learned.
Wow, so Cornell is literally in your blood.
This is my place.
This is your place.
I love this place. So I'm super happy to be here. But when I knew I was going to be a filmmaker, that happened when the Brubaker said, "You're a filmmaker, let's make a movie." So that was on them, and that wasn't that long ago, about 6 years ago. So did I have any inclination before that to make movies? Nope. But I love it now. Filming is great. You film lots of things, right?
Love filming. But I always knew that I wanted to be a filmmaker. Like, I think the first thing that ever inspired me was like Clerks was like my big thing that I saw, and I found out that it was like completely independent and all that stuff. And I was like, well, if that guy can do it, I can do it too. And Yeah, so I'm definitely a filmmaker who loves.
You kind of
to
have a
film.
little Kevin Smith look too.
Yeah, I'm trying.
That's the goal.
I just need to lose all the weight now. He's lost so much weight, I can't keep up.
So you wrote a couple novels, right?
Sure. You want me to talk about the novels now?
Yes, please, because that's going to lead into my next question.
Okay. So 2 novels, science fiction / fantasy. I wrote them each in 60 days. An hour a day makes the writing easy. You too can be an aspiring novelist. They're about United Nations ambassadors who are summoned to another plane of existence to deal with dragons and unicorns and evil wizards.
And I started the first book, and I love it, and it's weird. It's so
Is it-
weird
is it-
holding.
Is it a hard copy book?
It was a paper.
It's real deal.
Oh
It's
wow.
out there.
Okay. I
No,
wasn't
it's
sure if
like
it was
you
an
can order it
Amazon.
on Amazon. I got a physical copy, and I'm holding this thing like it's the Bible, and I'm like, Michael Helgens wrote this. This is the coolest thing.
Is it
And
self-published? Like, or
How
how?
is the Amazon create space to do it? So yes, it's self-published. The Mystery of Magic and the Might.
That's
of
another
Magic.
link, right? We'll link
Right?
that.
You can link to that.
We'll link it.
The Legend of Loch Linlia. There, I've said it somewhere so that people know how to say the name of the damn thing.
Yeah, I would be able to say that. I'll still have troubles after trying it. Go ahead with your.
so
I know-
yeah, do you prefer like your traditional roots with the writing these novels, or do you think filmmaking is like now your true calling?
No, for me, it's just about telling stories. So whether I'm filming the story or whether I'm writing the story, and I'm happy to do either, or directing the story and helping the actors bring the characters to life. It's just sharing stories, and that's a tradition that people have had forever, right? Orally telling stories, but now we have this fantastic new thing. We can write them down. And cooler than writing them down still is being able to put them on film and then show it to other people as many times as we want, and it doesn't degrade it. Unfortunately, it doesn't change to be more fantastical over time necessarily, unless someone is sharing the story of the film with someone else. But it's so great to be able to see the look in an audience person's eyes when they watch your story come to life.
Do you have any like books or movies that are like your dream movie? Like, is there something you're just dying to write or dying to film that you've been kind of just like, playing around in your mind? We don't want to like anybody to steal your magical ideas, but I've been like super curious because you're such a creative person and I love, talking to you. And I know there's always something going on up there creative that's just waiting to come out. Do you have anything that you've been playing around with that you'd like to share with some people?
Yep. There's probably going to be a bit of a murder book besides Morris. Like I've been playing with this sort of Jekyll and Hyde kind of character. But I mean, without giving anything away, Jekyll and Hyde doesn't scare anyone. Like it's not scary enough. So other than I just a character who wants to set people free. We've talked about you and I have spoken about Inspiration Point before.
Oh, I love that. Love Inspiration.
Which is another podcast that we did with the Strobe Studios folks about Nemo, who's just interested in helping people to escape the bonds of life. And the only way to do that is to kill them. Because if you're alive, you're beholden to something. And his job is to help people get better. That's kind of what he sounds like in the podcast, I think.
So creepy.
If memory
So
serves.
creepy.
I like him so much. He's such a weird, interesting person. The best characters have a little bit of yourself in them, though. So I feel like the way that I avoid murdering people in real life is to just write about it. I think that's true for lots of writers. So something like that, something serial killery, to bring that character really more fleshed out than he is right now.
So this character in this book that you've been playing around with, is it going to be kind of like the new Nemo? Like, is it going to be like, are you kind of like bringing Nemo into a new story, but like making it into a new character then?
I think he needs more than his 4 40-minute or 15-minute, whatever, episodes that he had to tell his whole story and really bother the psychiatrist that's trying to help him out. Sort of Silence of the Lambs meets Stephen King and all of these guys, Dean Koontz, they really inspire me to tell stories of horror. So, I mean, everyone has a little bit of horror in their blood when you are a filmmaker. I don't think you can be an independent filmmaker and not at some point make a horror movie.
First film I ever made was a horror movie.
I'm pretty sure it's impossible to escape. You can't just make dramas. You just do
You
it.
just can't do it. You gotta,
So do you plan on turning this into a book first, then into a film, or is it going to be just a book?
It's already got a sort of screenplay written, so the Brewbakers very much want to make it happen. But first, we're working on a bit of a spy film too. I always forget about the spy film that its name just jumped out of my brain. You know what? It did. Raven. It's called Raven.
Raven. I remember hearing about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a relatively shortish film, but it's going to bring together hopefully a nice ensemble cast of actors in a very ritzy looking place. So we're working with some realtors to get into a local mansion, hopefully, to shoot that.
Hey. So Huntington over here might be able to help you out. You guys filmed in a mansion?
In a mansion?
You did, didn't you? In your first 48-hour film festival.
No, it definitely wasn't a mansion, but it was a very beautiful house. It was a beautiful house. It was a what are those things that they're long containers? They're made out of metal. What's it called?
A trough.
No.
A trough.
God, I am literally blanking right now.
Like a shipping container?
Shipping container home, yes. So it was 3 shipping containers stacked upon each other.
Oh.
And it was a house. He cleaned out the inside, obviously did something to it to make it look like a home, but it was originally built off of shipping containers. Really cool house. Definitely very bougie. So I wanted to... So I know you do writing, acting, all that stuff. Do you classify yourself as a director when you're making these films? Do you direct actors, or do you normally leave that up to someone else?
Yeah, since we've got deeper into the films, I've taken on the directing role, and since they let me do it once, I've held on to it because I like doing it a lot. And Deborah Brubaker and I are a perfect pair. She's got a vision for how the photography should look, and she knows how to manipulate the camera. And then when I tell her which way to move it, she understands exactly what I'm looking for in terms of moving spatially or just tilt the camera just a little bit. And she does it perfectly every single time. So with her doing that and me being able to watch the camera from afar and then provide direction, it's a pretty neat job together.
Neat. So in your opinion, what is the most important quality in a film director?
Mm-hmm. A film director really understands that actors are not as comfortable as they might look, and can help them to deal with any sort of difficult situation. So it's more about being a guidance counselor, I think, than it is about anything else, and having a real idea of the story in your head so that you can shape exactly what ends up on film.
So as a working in a small crew and everything, and you're a director, but you're almost like doing everything else as well. Is it hard to focus on directing while also trying to focus on what the cinematography looks like and how everything is sounding? Do you think sometimes you put directing below that, or is your main priority to always try to make directing above everything?
The cool thing about our small crew is that we actually have built an intense team of people that's good, and who regularly join us for filmmaking. So we always have someone who's taking care of the sound and someone who's taking care of the picture. So when I'm directing, I can focus on just that task.
Yeah, I'm trying to get on that level. When I make films, it's like I'm always worrying about this and this and this, and it's just so hard to try to direct while also trying to manage all these things that come together while making a film. Very stressful. Working on a team, hit me up.
And Kevin and Debbie are so professional. I've had them come work on some films that I either star in with a different group of people, or when I did A Talk with the Devil, you guys came over, and you guys, what's so comforting about Media Adventures is that they know what they're doing. They're professional. You don't have to really you guys walked into my house and you were set up just like that and ready to go. I didn't have to I was super confident in you guys.
We appreciate your confidence in us.
Yeah,
but that didn't come easy for us. We had we fought for that, and anyone who really wants to do those things will do the same. But I think if you really want to be a filmmaker in Iowa, or anywhere, you need to find your team,
your core group that you can continue to make stuff with. So while being a director, do you ever, what's it like? Have you ever had to work with an unprofessional actor, and how do you kind of correct them and being hey, I need you to do this because this is how the story is written? Do you ever have an actor that's unprofessional, doesn't listen to you? Have you ever had to struggle with that before?
Well, to answer the question, how do you do it? You just fire them. I'm kidding.
Just get
here. Off my set. I'm not dealing with
I'll
this.
replace you.
Never have I really dealt. The most difficult thing is that sometimes people's lives get in the way of film shoots and they aren't able to show up. And so when you have to deal with that, then it's quickly find someone to replace them. But if you have a core group of people, hopefully not all of them are present, so you can nab one of them to do the job, or step in yourself from time to time. I've had to do that. When we made Lunchtime, I inadvertently got into the film because one of the actors couldn't show up on the day of filming, and that was the only day we had to film it. And so off we went.
So the Iowa Motion Picture Association, is that something Media Ventures started, or
No,
because you guys play a huge part in that?
Yeah. We learned about the Iowa Motion Picture Association when we were making our superhero films. A woman who was the treasurer at the time came and took a role in the superhero film, the second episode of that. And she told us about it. And then we went to the award show in Pella, and we were just blown away by how neat it was. And so we wanted to get involved. And so Mr. Brubaker traveled down there and met with the board, and then he drugged me, as well. And so we started hanging out with them. And from my work, if you serve on the board, the Toyota Financial Services, so Toyota in general, will give $5,000 to the organization if it's an educational organization, as the IMPA is. So since Debbie and I both work at Toyota, the IMPA gets some money from Toyota. And that's since then we've moved along in the organization. So Debbie is the treasurer, I'm the vice president. And we work together to put on this fantastic award show and just promote filmmaking in Iowa and do what we can to try to find the tax incentives again and bring those things back if we can find a way to do it responsibly.
And Produce Iowa kind of helps you now, right? Like, is Produce Iowa part of IMPA at all?
It was sort of hand in glove organizations. We work together to promote filmmaking in Iowa. So they're more of the film office, and so they look to promote film festivals and promote Iowa films, while the IMP is more of the educational side, so to teach people to be better filmmakers and to produce the quality of films that are necessary to put Iowa back on the map as a filmmaking mecca, so to speak.
I believe you guys are going to do it, man. You guys definitely are getting far. Isn't IMPA kind of coming up a little bit?
Yeah, I am you mean the award show?
The award show, yeah.
Yeah, so we just did the call to entries when we did the State Fair Parade. So right now at impa.tv, you can submit your film. I'm plugging everything tonight that I have.
All the stuff I'm going to have to do.
impa.tv, submit your film, and then the judging is beginning. And the award show next year will likely be in Ottumwa, which is pretty close to Fairfield, but they have a lovely venue just as much.
Can you also do it through Film Freeway as well?
Film Freeway is the only way to submit.
Way.
So when you go to impa.tv, there are all the rules and then a link to Film Freeway to submit your stuff.
Well, we are kind of getting close to the end of the show here.
Oh my!
I know, it went by.
Gosh.
It always does, man. It always does. So we've been having our guests kind of ended off with some inspiration. What would you tell young little P Money as a person who's wanting to get into acting, directing, producing, all of it?
So if you want to get involved in acting and filmmaking and directing, then it's your job to get out there and find a group of people who are equally interested in doing it, and write stories. If your passion is writing stories, find someone who's written a story who doesn't know how to bring the story to life and be their filmmaker. Help them figure out how to do sound and do all of those things together, because when you bring together a team of people, you're going to have the best time, not just making films, but building a group of people who will help you to propel your filmmaking career forward.
Heck yeah, man. So shout out to Michael. Thank you so much for coming here and telling your story and everything like that.
My pleasure.
And check out all the links that are down in the description and all of that. Check out Morris. Check out everything. Submit your film to IMPA. Again, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It was so good to see you again, buddy.
Happy to be of service.
You have a good night and you drive safe.
You do the same thing.
And you, the audience, thank you for listening to today's episode. Have a great night, everybody.